I just want to share this with you. I'm 37 years old. I chair the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force, so that's the Latino delegation in the State Assembly. We work closely with our Senate counterparts as well. I chair the Democratic Party in the Bronx. I chair the Commission on Reapportionment, which does district lines and census work. And I'm a vice chair for the State Democratic Party. I'm one chairmanship away from a full dining set. So I'm working on something. If anybody has anything to offer, I'll take it. But the real reason that we launched this, and I really want you to leave with this perspective as well as part of your visit today. Number one, the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force has gone on for now. This is the 31st conference. This, you have to understand that at the time that people like Angelo del Toro, Jose Rivera, Hector Diaz, and many other leaders, Olga Mendez, and other pioneers who represented us in the state legislature, at a time when it was not okay for them to be elected officials, at a time when it was not okay for them to be here, to be a part of leadership. When I say not okay, legally they were allowed to. But in terms of how they were received, they were not very welcome. And they demanded respect for communities of color and for the districts that they represented. For example, there was there's a story you should Google. Google, what is Google? Should Google. About the midnight walk. Where's Ruben? Where's the borough president?
I'm here.
The midnight walk, correct? There was a group of African American and Latino members who refused to support a budget deal, and they was a stalemate. They could not pass the budget. And so in the middle of that debate, close to midnight, they stormed into the second floor, into the governor's office, and refused to walk away until they had a deal that reflected the needs of communities of color. Part of what happened in that conversation was the creation of the HEOP program, and EOP, and SEEK, and SEEK.
Arthur Reed.
So, Arthur Reed, Basil Patterson, Angelo del Toro, there were a number of officials who were there that night. Shirley Chisholm, there were Percy Sutton, thank you. There were a number of officials whose shoulders we stand on. I tell you that story because I'm a SEEK student. And much like the senator said, I grew up in a household where we were painters, my family were laborers. I had no idea that I could actually go into an office, not just to clean it or paint it, but to actually run it with my name on the door. It was something that, it wasn't about what I learned or didn't learn. It was about getting over my own fears and self-doubts that I belonged somewhere, and that it didn't matter that my name was Hispanic or that I spoke with an accent or that, you know, the way we are in our communities, I belong wherever it is that I have an opportunity to fight for the people that I represent. And so once I got over that fear, that everything else started to happen. All those chairmanships and titles started to just come naturally. And it's not because of me. It's really because of a generation of Latino elected officials who work together and support each other and are trying to carry the torch from those pioneers to move this agenda forward. And while we had this amazing conference, and there's 1,000 people registered, and I got about 1,200 senior citizens downstairs, this conversation is my favorite part. This conversation is the one that I believe is the most important. Because if we're not passing the baton, if we're not helping you empower yourselves to go on and do the same work, doesn't matter if you're an elected office or not. You can be an agent of change no matter where you are. And so that's really what this conference is supposed to be. And we do this panel and we have this conversation because we want you to help us change the narrative on diversity. When you look at workforce at the state level, when you look at workforce in the private sector, we are not represented the way we should, but we certainly have the buying power to be in any boardroom or in any agency or in any office. So that's what this conversation is for. Take advantage of it. And I want to recognize some of those officials that work with me and make that happen. To my right, I have two... ¿Hay dominicanos aquí? Two of my Dominican colleagues in the New York State Assembly who are doing amazing work. Assemblywoman Carmen de la Rosa, Upper Manhattan. Assemblyman Victor Pichardo from the West Bronx. Are there ladies in the house right now? The dynamic, la que no tiene pepitas en la lengua, como decía tu abuela. La senadora Marisol Alcántara. Y una boricua que no come cuento tampoco en Brooklyn, la asambleísta Maritza Dávila. These are some of the members of the task force that are working every day to fight for you. So I want you to take advantage of the panel, learn as much as you can, take advantage of the resource fair, take advantage of opportunities in state government. We want to change the narrative, but understand that we are here to be a network for you. Beyond this conversation and this day, stay in touch with your elected officials. How many of you know who your assembly member is? Raise your hand. All right, raise your hand if you do not know who your assembly member is. Don't be shy, be honest. That's okay. Because when I first came here as an intern, I interned for that man, and I didn't know who my assemblyman was. And it was Ruben Diaz Jr. who took me and didn't see me as a student. He saw me as a staff member, a part of his team. He's the person that showed me that public service is possible for me, and he's the person that convinced me that I should run for his seat. So I ended up replacing the guy I interned for, and that's why he's here, and that's why he's my friend.
Now
and that's why he should be the first Latino mayor in the city of New York. I said it. Thank you. God bless, guys.